Hi, I'm Dina. I'm your coach for the call today. I just realized that I was on mute. So let me tell you again how excited I am that you're able to join us today at LevelUp. And I'm hoping that you have a little bit of extra room to for a little more content that I'm excited to share with you, all about views. So a few housekeeping notes that I have for you. While we have a chat, we'd love to hear about maybe what your favorite parts of the day were so far. And then you'll notice there's a Q&A section as well. I am so happy to be joined today by several of my coaches. My fellow coaches, Donovan and Lauren, are here to answer your questions live. And if by any chance we don't get to absolutely everyone's questions today, I promise I will not leave you hanging. I'll show you where you can get to additional resources and be able to connect with our amazing customer support team. So let's get into views. And one thing I would love to do is start off by showing you where you can find them before I talk about what they are. So a great place that you'll find views is definitely when you're setting up your workspace. So I'm going to click through, I'm going to be super creative about making a new space and calling it new space, clicking through my color and avatar. I'm keeping my space private, and I'm selecting some very basic custom statuses and enabling the pretty basic standard ClickUps too. But this really is the page I wanted to show you. So here you get to choose your default views for your space, meaning that you can see list and board are selected. I'm going to include calendar view as well. So I think these are 3 standard views that are really great to start with. And when I choose these for my space, this means that all of the folders that I create and the lists that I create in that space will automatically be created with these views. So another way that you can add views at any time, at any location within your hierarchy, is to manually add them from this plus views menu at the top. So you'll notice that at the top of your workspace, there are tabs representing all of the views that you've created, and then you can add views here. And what I'd like to mention is that there are 2 different types of views. So we have a menu for task views, and you'll see page views underneath that. And so the difference there really is that task views give you different ways to slice and dice your tasks so that they are represented in different visual formats to help you meet your different project management needs. And then page views are different in the way that they allow you to bring in additional resources alongside your tasks. So whether you're checking out our new whiteboard view, or you want to create docs or wikis alongside your tasks, you can create general chat channels so your team can collaborate internally, or you can even embed assets from supported platforms, such as a Google Sheets from your Google Drive, so it's readily accessible. There's also this amazing form view here that helps you streamline your intake, whether you're taking internal or external requests. So I would love to start off by really highlighting some of the amazing features that are in the list view. So I always think of the list view as the heart of ClickUp. This is your default view that will always be available to you. And we're starting off in my sales space in my account management folder and in our my default list view. So a couple things to point out here is that there are custom statuses at play here for my leads list of current clients. And these will help me track my accounts as they move through my sales pipeline. So it's currently grouped by status, and there are several features that I really like to point out in views that can make them truly powerful. And that is grouping by different categories, sorting by either the categories or even your columns that you've included, and filtering as well. So here we have my list view is grouped by status. I've chosen to include a filter that includes all of my statuses, including closed. So one of the default settings with the list view is that it will not include a task that is in a closed status, because that is much like archiving a task. But for this list, I do want to include all of my statuses in my view. And if I so choose, I can come into my group menu. I can choose to sort my tasks and reverse the status order so that I can see my onboarding accounts first and then move down through my sales pipeline to see which accounts have been renewed. And the other thing that I want to point out is that up here in the blue list tab, there is a number 3 that you can see. And that's indicating that there are more than one list views grouped together here. So if I click into my list, you'll notice that I have several other views that are saved here and are named to specifically focus on different views of the same information that we're looking at now. So when I click into the at-risk view, this helps me focus on accounts that are at risk and need attention. So this is very similar to my previous view in terms of it being grouped by status. The difference is that a second filter has been added so that it focuses on a custom field, the engagement custom field that labels these accounts at risk. So you can see that field here. And the custom fields that are available to you are always located through this plus icon on the right-hand side. So you can choose to show or hide fields that have been pre-created, or if you're using the custom fields ClickUp, you can also create additional fields that are customized and specific by different data types. So the filtered view in conjunction with the drop-down custom field that's been created enable me and my team to focus on at-risk clients. Now, there is also a third view that is labeled engagement. So this takes that same information and presents, again, another view where instead of grouped by status, it's grouped by that engagement custom field that I've created. So I have one place where I can view all of my accounts in a way that enables me to see not only what accounts are at risk, but which are inactive and the others that are active as well. And so in popping back over to my main list, there are a few tips that I love to share about the list view. So if you are collaborating with team members and you want to create a view that is specific to each team member, you don't have to create a view for each individual team member. There is a great feature called Me Mode that is dynamic and enables you to create a view that is specific to your team members. So if I add a filter by assignee that is Me Mode, then whoever comes into this workspace and comes to this view, this will be specific to that user. So here I can see all my accounts that are assigned to me, but if my team member Jenna comes in, this view will be specific to her. So that's a great way to, a quick tip for creating focused view across your entire team. I would love to pop over to our board view next, and I'm actually going to move into our marketing space and take a look at our social media campaigns project list. And so this board view takes your tasks from your list view and arranges them in vertical columns. So this is a Kanban style project management board, and the statuses here are the column headers. And so much like your list view, you absolutely can change the groupings. They can be grouped by assignee, they can be grouped by due dates, and you can even, go ahead and come into that custom field again and group them, let's say, by engagement. And one of the great features with Board View is that you can click into your task cards to update them without actually having to open the task view. So all of these icons enable you to come in and you can even quickly reassign work without having to click into and open up the task individually. And you also can pin images to your task cards. You can have cover images too. So if that's important to your work to incorporate visual assets, or you just are a visual person, Board View can be a great tool in that sense too. And the functionality that I think is really amazing about the Board View is that you can drag and drop your tasks right along your workflow as you work on your projects. Another pro tip feature that I like to highlight is if you're on a business plan or above, you can see at the top of the column headers, there is a task count, but you can enable the work in progress limit, ClickUp, and this would enable you to set soft limits around your statuses. So for example, let's say I only wanted to have a maximum of 5 campaigns running at a time. I can set that soft limit to track here. It won't block me from creating new tasks under the running status, but it will help me keep me in check in terms of having a visual indicator as to where we are in terms of those soft limits that I set. So when it comes to planning and organizing, I really like to talk about the calendar view next. So this is a traditional calendar style format that takes your tasks that have been scheduled with a start or due date and enables them to be formatted within your calendar view. So you'll see at the top menu here, you can view a day, you can view 4 months at a time, a week, or an entire month. And much like the board view, you have access to data within the task card that can be visualized here without having to click into the tasks. So when you click into the settings menu, you can really come through and determine, how much information you want incorporated into your task cards, such as assignee, priority, time estimates if you're using them. And you can even incorporate custom fields as well, so that you have all that information right within this view. Another tip about calendar view that I love is that if you are using time estimates to help with planning your tasks, if you, you can drag and drop your task cards around within this view to reschedule, but it will retain the time estimate that you've set for your task. So that can make it easier in terms of planning along the lines of this calendar. And when I look at the calendar view, sometimes I think, it's great to be able to see an entire month, but I really need to focus on some longer term planning, and that's where the timeline view can come into play. Timeline really enables you to even take a step back further from that monthly view, so you can look out ahead or even behind and over a greater time span. So when I come over into the timeline view, you notice that this is more of a linear calendar. And even within this weekly view, I'm not just looking at the week that I've specified. I can look ahead, and I can even scroll back to look at the work that's, that is behind me. You'll notice that there are grouping options here too. This is currently grouped by the channel custom field, so that I can see the campaigns that are running according to the social media channels that I've designated in my drop-down custom field. And so I can come here and look at, when I click on today, it'll position it back to start at today's date. And I can look at the weeks ahead and really get an idea of where I have gaps in my planning and where I can focus creating additional content, such as my email campaigns that really, there isn't a whole lot of work there. And I would say my team could do with creating some content for our email campaigns for our clients. Another way to utilize this view is if you group by assignee, you can also see your tasks that are assigned to your individual team members. So this can be a great place to be able to visualize who has, capacity and availability on their plate to take on additional work. Or if you wanted to, you could even come in and drag and drop tasks between team members to assign them directly from this view. And in terms of managing your team and resource management as well, there are a couple of views that I definitely would like to touch on while we have the time together today. And those include the box view and the workload view. So these are additional views that really can give you a snapshot of where your team is at in terms of the work that has been assigned to them. You can see what they're working on, what has been done, and what is still outstanding. So you can choose to view workload by the number of tasks, by time estimates if you're using them, or sprint points, or even point custom fields if you've established them. So you, and like our other views, you also can manage your tasks from here. So these are all dynamic. If you needed to, you can drag and drop work across team members to reassign work should you find that somebody might be overburdened and that work needs to be delegated across to another team member. Now, the workload view is built off of the timeline view in terms of formatting. So this is another way that you can manage your team's workload. You'll notice that I do have this set to a 2-week time frame. You also can look at just a week ahead, but this can also help you with setting capacity and monitoring it for your team members. So much like the box view that we looked at, you have a few different ways that you can view your tasks. I have this enabled to manage the workload by time estimates so that I can see who so far seems to be overburdened or not. And that's clearly indicated, for example, here, where you could see that I have one team member who is way over capacity, and this would enable me to come in and even reassign work to help with that workload. So it looks to me like we don't have a time estimate on that one. So just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to move that one across so you can see the change. So unfortunately, Kenneth is not in the best position right now. I just loaded a whole bunch of work on him, but I'll have to talk to him about that later. So another great view that's available to you, and I'm just going to pop into my view menu just so I can visualize that. So we've gotten through a good number of views, and I know we have a few minutes remaining. So I really would like to be able to give you a visual snapshot of what's available to you. And then, of course, I'll let you know where you can ask more questions or get in touch with customer support or even reach out to book a coaching call if you'd really like some additional help with setting up your workspace and workflow recommendations. So that being said, we're talking about managing your team members, and I'd like to point out the activity view also as a way to have a snapshot of what's going on within your project. So I would like to point out too that we're looking at these views within a list level. So these are views that also can be created at the folder level or the space level. So this activity view will give me very specific details about what changes have gone on within this list. And I can come in and choose to, for example, focus this on maybe, let's say, status changes. And perhaps I, only want to see who's been changing statuses for a certain team member. I can choose to set that activity view to be that specific. And you'll notice that it pulls up information that dates back quite a bit. So depending on what plan you are, you'll either have access to, an ongoing activity view, or for example, on our unlimited plan, you'll have access to the past 7 days. On our free forever plan, you'll have access to the past 24 hours. Something else I really like to mention too, I know we talked about our calendar view, and in terms of thinking about being able to zoom out further for planning, that our timeline view is also available. And what I like to talk about in conjunction with those views is our Gantt view. So I'm going to pop over to our operations space into our roadmap so I can highlight our Gantt view to show you what that looks like. Now, there is a sidebar here that you can expand or collapse that will point you to the hierarchy that's incorporated into this view. And so the Gantt view, much like the timeline view, enables you to take a step back further and really, if needed, even have a year-over-year view in terms of planning. So if you have projects that you are mapping out or roadmaps that span over, 6 months to a year to several years ahead, the Gantt view can really be a great view to help you with your project planning. And it also includes some great functionality in terms of if you're going to use dependencies or create an order of processes, you can create dependencies right from this view by selecting, dragging and dropping and connecting tasks together. And if you click into the settings menu, you can even choose to reschedule dependencies. And that means that any tasks that are linked together and dependent on each other can be rescheduled together as a group. So as life happens, if I need to move resource management, forward a bit, all of the tasks that are dependent on that, their dates will also be rescheduled. Another useful tool here that I'll show you in this menu includes the planned list bar. So I'm going to disable that option and then enable it. So you can see this, there's a gray line that appears that is representative of each list. So you also have the option of incorporating dates into your list that you can visualize in conjunction to your task dates. And you can think of that as being, planned dates for that list or that project. And you can see that against the actual dates that have been scheduled for your tasks or the work being done within that list too. A couple other views that I would definitely like to point out. Mind maps are available for unlimited use on our business plan too. So you have access to these tree charts that are can map out your hierarchy. You also can create maps, mind maps within blank mode. So those are more free form if you want to map out ideas within this view as well. Table view can be really useful in terms of providing a compacted view of information that you need to analyze. This is also great for bulk updates to your tasks. And you can pin a column here too. So if this is an extensive table view, you can essentially freeze that column in place to easily scroll through your table view. And then we have our map view, which is pretty cool if you are using our location custom field. I often see real estate agents, property managers, anybody working in construction, or even wanting to map out where their clients or accounts are located, use the map view to be able to visualize that too. So I know we're coming up on the end of our time, and I want to make sure you know where to go if you have more questions and you want to deep dive further into these topics. There is a question mark in the lower left corner of your workspace. So you can click into that and you have all of these resources at your disposal. Whether you want to view a short video tutorial, maybe a longer use case based webinar, or want to dig into our help documents, you can access them all here. You also can reach out to support, or you can book a consultation, whether it's a free consultation with one of our coaches or a paid consultation with one of our vetted consultants to help you in building out your workspace. So I want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope you don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. None is too big or too small. Our customer support team loves to hear from you and look forward to working with you further. So thank you again for your time today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and keep the rest of your day productive. Thank you.